Say what? Look, I'm on tour right now.
It's the New OGs. The New OGs is a State and Madison entertainment production and is brought to you by Solar Masters. Look, Illinois is changing how people get their electricity, and Solar Masters is helping homeowners in Illinois take advantage of a program that lets them get solar power at no cost. If you're a single-family homeowner in the state of Illinois, you can lower your electric bill, you can raise the value of your property, and you can do something good for the environment without paying a single dollar out of your pocket to do so. In fact, not only can Solar Masters only work with you if they can save you money, Solar Masters will actually award you a $500 cash card for going solar in 2023. Solar Masters is a Black-owned company working with North American-based panel makers who have over 30 years of solar experience. They even have a referral program that pays a minimum of $250 per referral. So head over to www.gosolarmasters and get in contact for a free consultation. Order a first one when you know. The New OGs is also brought to you by the Save Toby Jones Tour. Catch Rob Hines, our co-host, famously known as Toby Jones from Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage, as he embarks on his brand new tour, going all over the country, sharing his truth with the world about Toby Jones. What is happening, everybody? We are back here, another amazing week. It is a wow, and what's going on? XL, how you doing?
I tried on some 3D glasses because I thought, maybe I'd have like some kind of trip action happening with the edibles and the weed. It did nothing for me. 3D glasses, 1 star when you're not in 3D. So rating or live rating just happened right there. 3D glasses, 1 star. If you're not actually
you now look like the leader of a nation who has successfully liberated its people. And last week you looked like you were in the midst of the takeover, and now you look like you're like a couple months in and are like enjoying some of the riches and successes from said takeover.
We now have control of the country. I have a Baba now.
I congratulate you, my brother.
Well, they greeted us as liberators.
What's going on in the land of the Giants, XL? What's happening?
Life is good, man. Life is good. I had a great show up. Big shout out to Milwaukee Comedy.
Milwaukee Comedy, shout outs.
Yeah, Caitlin, Greg, Matt, those guys up there. Did Lakefront Brewery. Nice crowd and had a great time, and looking forward to I'm at Mustangs
nice.
In South Beloit, April 4th.
Okay.
So that's by the time this comes out, that'll be like right around the corner.
We're editing as fast as we can,
While
this is on the air, I am currently editing.
That's not a shot. That was not any kind of underhanded, backhanded thing. I'm just saying the way time works.
We talk over each other a lot. There's a lot to cut up, There's
by the time people see this,
the way time works.
I'm just saying, we're not shooting it live. We recorded the way time works.
No, you're correct. You're not incorrect. You are correct. It will be closer when this comes out. I agree.
I mean, no shot. The editor is my guy. He's a good
Rob, what's going on with you, man? How is your truth coming along?
Hey, man. I am very close to announcing the first dates of the spring tour. It will be at the end of August. I have a monthly that I'm about to release to everybody. It's amazing. I'm very much looking forward to it. Also, we are still in negotiations, as it were, with the Castro brothers, the awful people they are. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and start mentioning names. Yes. After 13 years, I think it's fair for the people to start knowing more and more. And I won't take up too much of our time on this today, but I will say this.
You are a sponsor of the show. So.
I will say this, guys. First of all, always protect what is yours, intellectually and otherwise. Capitalism should work the same for everyone, which means that you should get paperwork done based on who you're working with, even when you think you could trust them. And I will also say that I'm not gonna let them have it. I'm just not gonna. They're gonna have to do something. This is not the way this is gonna go, and we'll move on from there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's good. I mean, I think it's powerful that you are, taking these steps to be in charge of your own, of your own work. And I think that's a big deal. I mean, it's too often we have given up our rights and ownership of things. And when we do look to try and fight to hold on to ownership of things, we're often called crazy. Or, when Prince wanted to hold on to his own shit and they made a big deal out of him, and it was just like, man, he made all that, man. That's and now looking back, everybody reveres the effort he took into holding on to his own stuff.
Absolutely.
And so there is something to be said for even putting up the fight for trying to hold your own shit that's important as a lesson to be taught to future generations, which is a big thing.
And it also being in court keep you from scraping up your knuckles.
Right. Yeah. There's always that thing where something happens and what you actually want to do is go just destroy people. You're like, you're just kind of like, I could just rip a man in half. That is a thing I could do, is take a man, grab one end and then grab another end. And I could take both those ends and tear them in different directions. It's such an anger and force in which that person would be rendered into two different people. And then you're like, but of course we're not allowed to do that because we're living in a civilized society. But I have worked it out in my head how that would work.
Just for the record, anybody that looking at Bobby and think, well, Bobby, you can't actually do it. You couldn't rip a person apart. I promise you, the two of us can. I promise you, the two of us can. I promise you can. I really do. I mean it. I promise the two of us can. And if he mad enough that he got to rip your ass apart, trust me, I'm helping.
Yeah. We ain't got to do all that. You just.
But nobody's ripping anybody else in half. I mean, there's a lot of times in life where you feel that way, and I think that's one of the tough things about life, right? Is recognizing that, like, oh, I just got to kind of hope that, like, the good works out.
Yeah.
like the technical good works out where I don't have to be sweaty.
I don't have to scrape. I don't have to scrape these rusty ass knuckles across somebody's jaw. Do those silly stuff like that.
Yeah. It'd just be easier to just get paid for your work, right?
Yeah. Just go ahead and be fair.
Can I just get paid for what I did and we could just move on? That'd be a wonderful thing.
What people don't even understand is that people. Sometimes people always think the artists are the ones being unreasonable. First of all, if you create something, there's no such thing as being unreasonable. Right. Like I created this shit. It came out of my mind.
Right.
But also it's always like every time when you find out the truth of what happened, it's always the motherfucker that didn't create the thing that's always being like insanely irrational because they didn't create it. They can't do it again. They can't come up with another one. They can't do it enough. So they have to hold on to it. It's always that case.
And keeping with that thought, man, I actually rewrote another song. So once this is over, I'm gonna release the new song. What you gonna do about that? You can't tell me I can't sing about a character I played.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, make it even more difficult for them. I think it's a good idea. Some other celebrity news going on aside from our own here. We had some homegoings this past week. Lance Reddick, excellent actor, known, of course, for all of the John Wick movies. He was the concierge at the Continental. He was in The Wire. I mean, Resident Evil, Fringe, Bosch. I mean, you name it. He was in a bunch of different stuff. Passed away at 60 years old. Literally just a badass in every movie he's in. He never played a sucker in any movie.
By the way, I regret I didn't do it. I will do it after the show if nobody else knows. Does anybody know specifically what happened with him? Because 60 is pretty young. And he's actually younger than I thought he was. He one of those cats like Morgan Freeman. He looked old for 30 years.
Yeah. I think he has such a strong look. Like he just looked like an authority figure. But he didn't look like a bully. He just looked like, okay, I got to be on my P's and Q's. His presence demanded respect.
Yeah, I mean, he just should have looked like one of those dudes who is like, well, obviously that dude ain't no hoe. Like that's like when he came on screen, you're like, well, we ain't fucking with that dude, obviously, right? Like fucking with that dude is probably gonna be a mistake no matter what goes on.
And he had the voice too. It was deep, but it wasn't like like we fanboying over him, but he really did. He had a great voice, great delivery. Yeah.
Well, they always just give that shot where they show him looking too like he was like, don't fucking be a clown. You know what I mean? Right. He'd always have that look where he'd just be like, the camera would always catch this motherfucker looking at somebody like this. And every time he did that, you just knew it was just like, obviously, you don't fuck with that dude. He's telling you right there that he's not to be fucked with. They did not. I've not really seen anything that says exactly what happened to him. Maybe that's something we can find somewhere, but I don't see it anywhere. Cause of
Starting to
death, I did
rain a
not
little
find.
bit here. That's a big deal.
In Los Angeles, holy shit.
Yeah. It's been raining a lot. They're having this thing called an atmospheric river.
Well, I mean, it's snowed in some parts of LA, didn't it? Some parts got some snow.
No, in higher elevations near LA, it's snow, but not
right.
Not in
yeah, LA. They have higher elevations in LA. They don't have that in Chicago. All the elevations in Chicago are the same. Yeah. They are exactly the same.
I mean, unless you're in a skyscraper, but
yeah. And some other news, gentlemen, who's a little bit older. Willis Reed, who is the captain of the New York Knicks, won 2 titles in 70 and 73. He passed away at age 80. Known as the captain in New York, probably, if not the greatest, one of the greatest to ever wear a Knicks uniform. Yeah. Famously known for being injured in that final series against the Lakers and coming out to lead the team to what ended up being a victory.
So what you know what's crazy about that story, Bobby? He didn't even play that game. Like he played I think 5 minutes that game, if he played that much. He got in the game, he made fouled.
2 buckets.
He made 2 buckets, but just the fact that he tried, that was enough that everybody else, it fired up. It's a pretty dope story. I'm surprised there's never been a movie about that shit, because people.
You want to know what's even crazier about that story is he beat the Lakers, but to get to the Lakers, they played the Baltimore Bullets in the first round, who had Wes Unseld and Earl the Pearl Monroe. So they beat them in the first round. Then they beat the Bucks, who had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and some other bad motherfucker. And then they played the Lakers in the finals with Wilt Chamberlain and fucking Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, and they beat them motherfuckers too. That was what Willis Reed did that year. Okay, so modern day cats want to talk about how back then they played against a bunch of plumbers, and that nigga ain't playing against no plumbers. That motherfucker played against Earl the Pearl Monroe and Wes Unseld, my nigga, in the first round. Okay,
that was the tree of letting black people play, starting to bear fruit. Instantly when we get on the court, we're gonna give them a little bit. But I'm saying, after you done got used to give them a little bit and you get the chance to give them a little bit more, that's when we got to a little bit more.
And Unseld and Reed were both guys who were undersized centers at 6'9"-ish, 6'6". I mean, they're listed 6'7".
I'm even sure Unseld was that tall.
That's something not even that tall. But then Willis went and played up against Kareem and then Wilt in back-to-back series and beat both of them. And I mean, those guys, when you look at the top point scorers in those games, those guys showed out too. Kareem was 36 and 25 in all them games. It wasn't like they weren't there. You know what I mean? But this guy was also 34 and 19. You know what I mean? Willis Reed led them to them finals and won that title over those gentlemen in 3 series. And I think he beat Kareem 4-1 in the Eastern Finals going into the NBA Finals. So that is what Willis Reed did, and I think that is as crazy as him coming out of the tunnel and all that shit was. I think the actual story of who he beat that year to win that title for the Knicks is as crazy as that story is, right? When you go, I mean, if you look up the stats of them games of those series, it's fuck, man. They must have been balling out, because
this last thing I want to say about that era is Muggs always talk about, they were playing, when you go back to that, they were playing Plumber's Reference and stuff like that. If you let's say 2 of the teams were that, right? You still had, if you played for Chicago, you still had Kareem in Milwaukee that you had to play 8 times because there weren't as many teams. So it wasn't like now where you might only play them twice. You had to pay them 6 or 8 times, man. And take that ass with 6 or 8 times from Kareem, and then 6 or 8 times from Wilt, and then 6 or 8 times from Russell. That shit wasn't no cakewalk, man.
Yeah, those were all best of 7 series. He had to beat the Bullets in 7 games before he get to Kareem. You know what I mean? Then he had to beat Kareem. Then he had to beat Wilt. That
don't even seem like a reward. Wait a second. I beat Kareem and now I got to play Wilt. What the fuck?
It's some final boss shit, man. It's just a straight up final boss shit. You know what I mean? Just it's trying to. I got to beat the NBA game this year. This is how, Let's get into some actual black. Yeah.
And I would recommend that everyone do this. I just got through watching Bill Russell's special, and they get into some of that towards the end of Bill Russell's time when this, and dude, it was amazing. Like, and now when you guys talking about that, they kind of brushed across that story a little bit too, because that's when they were starting, right when he was finishing.
All right, let's get into some black excellence. There is a Gladiator sequel that's being filmed. Ridley Scott is back in control of this new Gladiator sequel that's coming, and Denzel Washington is going to be joining that sequel, so he gets to work with Ridley Scott again, which I think is going to be amazing. I don't know, Denzel Washington be playing some Moors now. He was
Denzel Washington is not going to be in the Gladiator pit, is he?
I hope not.
I'm guessing he's gonna probably be a ruler of some sort.
Yeah, he's got to be the king of the Moors or some shit. Maybe he'll be one of them. You know how they always got. You know, he might be one of the magical Negroes who's down there. Like, there's always a dude who's like guiding the people down in the pit. Like last time, there was that older cat who looks interesting. Man, they're bringing some cool cats in for this. I'm excited about this movie and Denzel in that movie. We saw The Mandalorian. All of us saw The Mandalorian, which I thought was pretty cool. This latest episode is pretty great. I love that they're showing all the rest of these Mandalorian people that are in there now and starting to go on some missions and fighting shit together. That shit's dope. But
Here's the shit. I'm just sorry, real quick, because you just said that about showing all the other Mandalorians. So here's what the Mandalorians do. By the way, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched episode 4, turn this the fuck off or skip ahead, and Bobby will tell you at some point where to skip ahead to in a graphic like right here. All right. All these motherfuckers do is fight and raise kids and practice fighting and raise kids. They don't even eat together because they can't take their fucking hoods off, their helmets off in front of anybody. So they're like weirdly antisocial, but when they're together, they're like, "Hey, let me show you how to shoot better." You know, like. So
they're like early Christians trying to get their world domination together. You know what I mean? Like, make babies and go to war.
Yeah, man.
Beware who you break bread with. But
I'm very interested in how they sex work. Is it all doggy style? Are they doing missionary with the helmets on? Like, because that's his son.
Right.
So is that his son? Like Grogu is what's your face son?
Right. Or is that his son? Like, I fucked somebody through a sheet so we could remove our helmets to breathe a little bit. You know what I mean?
Keep the helmet on and just boom. It's not that.
Maybe they just strip down to the helmet. Like I've seen. If I've seen your titty.
I was about to say, you know what? The helmet might help sometimes. You know, the helmet might.
Let's just keep the helmet on, girl.
I think that when you amongst yourselves indoors or some shit, you can take your shit off. I think that's how.
No one's supposed to see you with your helmet off.
Dude, did she take her helmet off on the way back?
Nah, she took her helmet off when they ate, but everybody went to a spot. But that's what I'm saying. They don't eat together, so everybody went out.
When they was riding back, she ain't never take their helmet off.
No, that was the whole point. When they first got back to all the other Mandalorians, where they asked her, they were like, "If you're not taking your helmet off since you went in the waters," and she was like, "Nope." And they're like, "Well, then you back to being a Mandalorian also." So like that's the whole thing is like you can't take it off in the presence of anybody else.
Oh, okay.
And so what's even wild about that is I think Bo-Katan, I thought that she was kind of playing a role, and I think she is. I think her seeing the Mythotar has actually
changed who she is.
Oh, wait a second. All this shit is true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, she's definitely back into the lore of everything. She's like, all right, well, maybe this shit is happening. The real key scene from last night is they showed some more about how Grogu was saved originally when the Order 66 came to execute all of the Jedi. You know, Grogu was even younger then, so it had to be saved. And they showed a black Jedi. I forget what the character's name was, but it was played by Ahmad Best. And if you don't know who Ahmad Best is the voice of Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar.
And so Jar Jar Binks is a character who got a lot of shit. Yeah, he got a lot of shit for the voice that he had in those earlier movies. And Ahmad Best ended up getting a lot of like death threats and hate and shit for that. And so they found a role for him. We could actually play a pivotal part. This character is in Star Wars canon as the person who saves Grogu. So he got to play that role last night, which I thought was a pretty good redemption situation for him.
Hey, can I tell you? Can I say I think it's an awesome thing, but I can also say that he's probably like a much better voice actor than he is actor. Because prior to you telling me this about him, I remember getting excited when I saw it was a brother that saved Grogu. But I also remember thinking, this guy is not that great of an actor. But I didn't think anything.
He's like a mid Jedi, right?
Yeah, like I didn't think anything of it. I just thought like this is a weird choice. They, this show has amazing actors on it, like this, but it was something about like I just didn't buy him. It almost felt like like
a voice actor trying to be an actor.
Yeah, it was like an SNL sketch, like an SNL sketch, like they were doing a SNL fucking Mandalorian,
like a short,
sketch,
one of those shorts.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So they had just enough to make it look like it was actually the shit, but it was like the person was out of place, didn't have the right movements and stuff. I'm not trying. I'm shitting on the dude. I mean, I'm happy that he got the thing, but like, it made sense. I was like, when you told me that was a dude, I was like, this nigga's a voice actor. Okay.
I don't know. I dug it. I thought it was pretty cool. Because when he came out when he came out that elevator with two lightsabers, I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. He just knew how to do that. And then for me, when I was watching him physically fuck shit up, like he was like, you know how Jedi do. He would hit the thing at an angle and then it'll fuck you up, make you don't want to shoot at him no more. So to me, when I was looking at all that cold shit, I'm like, that nigga cold ass Jedi. I want to know more about him. And then when they shot the thing and it hit the back of the thing, he still was getting it. I'm like, okay, homie, I'm more interested than I was before. This is getting to another level. And then when he finally got there and it was like, hey, fuck us, save the baby. You go with the baby. We're going to die right here. I'm like, he must be cold for him to take that. You know what I'm saying? It was just,
right.
It was an up position. That's what I like. And
yeah, I think what he got to do was awesome. I think maybe the acting was maybe a little less than awesome, but it was cool to get to see the brother get to do those things. Like he gets to be the savior of the kid. He got to do some dope shit to get there. Maybe the coordination was not quite high level, but it got done.
Because I didn't think he had that much to say. Like he had to really do that. It was not that much of a part. So I mean, not to say that it wasn't important.
Right. Yeah.
Rob, I don't want you to mistake. I know when I said I sound like I was just shitting on the dude, but I just remember when he first when he got Grogu. I just remember in that moment I was like, dude's like not that great of an actor. They must have shot the scene weird. It stuck in my head, and I didn't think anything of it. Everything you said was, I agree. He was cold as fuck with his lightsabers. He saved dude. He got to come back at some point because if he saved Grogu, they got to find.
You got to more of that story.
I
want to see more of that story of what happens, how he raises him, how they get to that point. In some other news, Michael Jordan, who owns the Charlotte Hornets, has owned them for like I think 20 years now, something like that. Bought them for $275 million was his controlling interest that he bought the Hornets for. Is now looking to purchase or looking to sell them. Is in talks to sell the Hornets right now, looking at buyers. I think we talked about the Phoenix Suns going for $4 billion recently. So the Phoenix Suns are sold for $4 billion recently. Maybe worth more than what the Hornets are worth, but that means the Hornets are still worth probably 3 point something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the difference between the Suns and the Hornets in team value is not that much. And the Hornets are really a good owner away from being just as potentially, they can fill that stadium just as easily.
I'm just trying to figure out, what do you do when you have that much money? Like, what does your day?
Whatever the fuck you want.
I know, right? But what do you want to do? That's what I'm saying. What does a day of the life of a dude that already had a few $1 billion when he gets a few more billion? Like, do you even, does it buzz on your phone from Bank of America?
You're not looking at individual charges anymore. You know what I mean? Like you are no longer.
How do you know you got the other $3 billion? Like, and now that you have it, what more could you do than you did yesterday?
Yeah, that's my question. Is like, what new thing are you now capable? Like, what's the new thing you can do now? Buy another big thing?
He could buy big
Tottenham.
Thing. Well, I tell you what, me and Bobby were talking, wasn't in the line rundown, but just to give people an idea of the type of person Michael Jordan is, Michael Jordan built a golf course specifically designed to the way he plays. Like he splices the ball in certain situations. The course is designed so that the way that his ball hits, that's the best place to hit it. And it's such a way that professional players can't play on the course. When they try to play on the course because they know where the shit's supposed to be, they play that way. They end up in the rough or in the fucking bunkers. And Jordan shit is perfect. So when you say,
and he'd be playing them for money for sure, right? Like he'd be bets 1,000% of the time.
And I forgot the course is called something 23 too, the arrogant motherfucker. Like I can't say arrogant. He earned it. It's his shit. Whatever. I do the same. It's gonna be some Excel shit everywhere. But when you say like what else did he do? Like you given the most competitive man in the history of probably of our time, $3 billion. He gonna find something to do. He gonna find something interesting to do and trick it off.
What if he just bought up some version of healthcare homes and just started putting people in them? That'd be.
I just thought, like, what if we had a Negro wealth fund and he gave the proceeds, or at least a portion of the You getting $3 billion? Give us $1 billion and see what happens. See how we do.
I mean, yeah, that's also a possibility.
It ain't but 45 million of us.
Let's get into some politicals. Let's talk about why some people are probably opposed to anybody having any money who is darker than they are. There's a air seeding service in Kansas, which is a service that actually seeds ground to make sure that agriculture happens. That just recently got shut down. This was a company in Hutchinson, Kansas. It had the 14 words listed on the side of the truck. If you're unfamiliar with the 14 words, it is a slogan that is a white nationalist slogan. That talks about.
I'm almost positive it originated with Hitler. I think he said those words or something to that effect. That's why they're so poor.
It was originated by David Eden Lane, one of 9 founding members of the defunct white separatist insurrectionary group. But the 14 words.
My apologies to Hitler.
I bet you didn't wake up thinking you say that shit today.
It was a group called The Order. And the 14 words are: we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. Which is usually when you see 14 or 1488, the 88 is the 88, which is supposed to be HH, the 8th letter of the alphabet, which stands for Heil Hitler. So Hitler didn't say it, but obviously it's in the same vein. So this company got shut down. They are no longer doing air seeding for Kansas anymore, which is good for Kansas.
I wonder what the new company name is.
Bad idea.
Right. I wonder what the new company name is.
WH Heights only.
We so sorry for saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, quiet part out loud seating services. That's the QPOL seating services. That's the name of the new company.
We apologize 1,488 times.
WHN seating services. We hate, and you can figure out what the N is. Gnats. Oh wait, that's spelled with a G. Oh darn. There's a big hearing coming up with TikTok. Joe Biden and the Biden administration has basically told TikTok, you got to sell your company to somebody or else you're going to get banned in the United States, which is odd considering most of what I've gotten out of TikTok is recipes and bad dance moves. Those are the things I have most. That's what I've learned from TikTok so far, is how to do that weird shuffle thing and how to make a lot of shit with ranch packets.
Yeah. TikTok is kind of the best of both worlds. It has an IG and a Twitter feel to it, in that like events that happen quickly, you can see shit on there. You can get news and stuff find out stuff, but also with the video portion of it, you can actually have like there are TikTokers who edit shit, news reports or not just news reports, but like current event type stuff. And I think Generation Z and millennials voted at a higher rate than they'd ever voted before in the 22 election. And one of the reasons they did that, and they also punked Trump a couple times with it, and they became politically active. And as soon as they became politically active on TikTok, TikTok became a problem.
In addition to
You are not wrong.
In addition to that, the Chinese is getting all type of information through that shit. But who else?
Man, I don't give a fuck.
They do.
Oh.
So, but being on TikTok and having a little bit of juice with them, this thing, what made it popular and what I can see is that you got to show talent in a really short amount of time. In the beginning, when it was only 15 seconds, you got to give it to them real quick, and part of that is it contributes to the short attention span that people have, right? So, but now they've extended it to 3 minutes, and I tell you what, man, you can make a couple dollars messing with TikTok, and I think that's part of the problem too, is that if you really managed it properly, it'll pay you, and you know, the more time you spend working on yourself and not for the situation, the more they got to step on them.
Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or whoever owns whatever other I don't know who owns Snapchat. Those motherfuckers are stealing the exact same information that they're claiming China is stealing. They're stealing the same information and they're stealing in the exact same way. And I don't see how Zuckerberg doing it, Elon Musk doing it, whoever owns Snapchat doing it is any different than China having it, because China's not trying to attack us by stealing individual what recipes Bobby's looking at or even what political shit I'm looking at. You know what I'm saying? Like, could they shift ideas or minds with political shit? Yeah, but we can track that shit and see it and shut it down then when they actually do it. But I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen even a report of them saying they did. I see that shit on Twitter all the time. The fucking owner of Twitter does it all the time.
It's the real issue just comes down to like trust, right? Because TikTok is sitting here saying like, listen, we are not sharing data with anybody. Everybody knows that if you're a Chinese company, your ultimate master is still the Chinese Communist Party. So like in the end, like how much do you really trust? And the concern is not just that like that they can see that I'm watching recipe videos, but they can get a general overall sense of what like there's 150 million Americans that use TikTok. That's half of the population. And you know, when you count our population, you're also including kids who aren't old enough to even have a phone. So like more than half of people who could be using TikTok are on TikTok, right? So like that is a lot of information about what people look at, what they follow, what they're interested in, that you can use to create propaganda and insert it at your own free will if you're the Chinese party, if you want to, which is the concern, which is that a concern or isn't? I don't really like, there's obviously some depth to this that previously was just something that Republicans were only concerned about, that now Democrats seem to be concerned about also. So it seems as if there's some level of information that is capable to be accessed or is accessible that is beyond what you and I are seeing, that is of a great concern.
China can get all that information from Facebook through second party companies. They could buy it.
Very possible.
The problem isn't that China is getting all the information. It's that they're not paying for it anymore because
that's possible too.
TikTok.
That's possible too. But whatever like it is, it seems to be a big fucking deal for everybody now, because even Democrats are like, this is not going to work, right? Like even Democrats are saying.
I just want to say this, put this in the clip in the tail end. For anybody that's questioning what I'm talking about, Google second and third party users of social media data. They don't directly, like, so when Facebook says we don't sell your shit to anybody, blah blah blah, they don't. But then they sell the metadata that isn't directly your shit, but the metadata can be reconfigured to figure out what the fuck you were doing. So they might not know specifics, but they know when me and Bobby were in the same place because our phones pinged on the same shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They know that we were in this restaurant or we were at this club or we were at, you know, and they know whoever else was with us.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, because that's when my social media activity, if I've been around you or in your town, then all of a sudden you come up more on my news feed.
Yeah. Speaking about China, President Xi from China just has been meeting with Putin. They had a big get together. You think that their talk could be a lot about Ukraine, but really their talk was a lot about strengthening position in regards to the U.S. which is obviously highly concerning. Most Americans, depending on whether, if you're a Democrat or a Republican, if you're someone who's claiming one of those things, is someone who either feels that our major problem lies with one of those two countries. And now it's almost like a WWE event where it's just like, oh, they're tagging up. So, but these guys seem to really be getting along, which I don't think is the most awesome thing in the world, considering that both their budgets are pretty strong. Still not close to what the U.S. spends on its defense budget.
No, nowhere near it.
Like we are king dongs on the fucking defense budget side,
and steady getting bigger.
Yeah, hey man, if we gotta buy more bullets, we're gonna buy more bullets, But yeah, I'm not sure what that situation is going to be as things go down the road. They seem to have been, working together on some shit anyway, so that's not too much of a change. What is a change is Donald Trump. He made a big fuss over the weekend, claiming that his arrest was imminent, that he was going to be arrested on Tuesday. We are now recording this on Wednesday, and of course, he is still free. Surprise, surprise, he's not the most honest guy.
Hey, I'm gonna let you know, Donnie Trump, the hood gonna ride for you folks. We ain't gonna let them take you down. We're gonna keep the streak alive. You have the longest criminal streak in history right now. And I'll be honest with you, I hated your ass for this entire time, and I still hate your ass. But I respect the game. And let's just see, keep the streak alive. If they try to come get you, go on the run, my nigga. Go on the run. Fly to someplace.
It ain't gonna work.
Island. Ain't nobody gonna come get you there.
And it ain't gonna work because he gonna keep his cell phone. He's gonna go somewhere, order McDonald's on his cell phone. They gonna find you.
Do either of you think there's going to be a scene in which they actually have to come and physically arrest him and like he's got to be taken in somewhere? Do you think that's happening?
Yes.
No, I think he's going to turn himself in.
I mean, he's going to have to be processed somehow. But I don't know how they're going to hold him. I just don't, what do you put a dude that has armed security at all times?
And technically is still considered, by all intents and purposes, a president of the United States. I mean, even when you're not anymore, you still called that. They still call you Mr. President, right? Even when you're gone.
Hey. This thing gets, let's say he gets 8 years for the Fed shit, right? Say he gets 8 years. Does that mean the Secret Service is serving 8 years, basically?
No, well, I guess you would get detail that would work like guards.
Most expensive prisoner of all time.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, think about being Secret Service. Like, you are
still going on a rotation. So you get like a 90-day rotation. Like, there's ways where you don't have to be the only one that got to go to jail every day.
So guys, he's still going to be able to run for president while this is all happening. So he's going to be on the campaign trail. He could get sentenced and elected.
I honestly think
imagine if the sentencing is like on one day and then the election is on the next, and they tell us that he's got to spend 7 years in jail,
or the
and then he gets elected
after.
president.
Or the sentencing after. That's even worse. Like, he president, they like, all right, Mr. President, we about to come out there and lock that ass up. What you think gonna happen?
It's gonna be an inauguration. It's gonna be an inauguration at the Fed.
In the yard. They're gonna have his inauguration at the yard. They're gonna have to
Hey, at least people will be there this time.
Hey,
you gonna definitely have at least it's gonna be people there this time.
The theme for the inauguration is going to be orange.
Listen, what you gonna see is Game of Thrones. That's what you gonna see at the end of shit. They're gonna have to pull out a dragon, all types of stuff.
All of a sudden, Trump's gonna be talking about abolish prisons. He's gonna be. This is how we do it, guys. This is how we do it. We just got to put him in one, and then he'll be all about abolishing prison. That's all it took.
That was the funniest stuff I ever seen when I see white folks like defund the FBI. I'm like, yes.
Where have y'all been?
One rich white dude catching hell, and the motherfucker shut this whole thing down. Shut it down. It's not fair. Those black guys were not wrong. It's not fair. It's not fair.
Oh,
This
my
is
father used to
bad.
say, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun.
Right? We may not make it in some we may not make it to even another presidential election. They said it wasn't real when The Last of Us came on, and they said that the premise for The Last of Us is that the cordyceps mushroom evolves and with climate change becomes parasitic, the same way that other mushrooms are, and attacks human hosts. And everybody said, well, that's not real. But there is now a super fungus that is spreading across the United States. Candida auris. It's a deadly fungus that is now in more than half of 50 states. It is something they do not have a way to stop once it gets in your body. There is no antifungal once it's inside of you, and it will kill you. So now, whether it reanimates your body and turns you into a zombie that wants to infect others is yet to be seen. But this is still fairly new, so who knows? Could
Since
be.
this since this is our last podcast before the shit jump off.
Here's a stat. Nearly half of the patients who contract it die within 90 days.
Oh shit.
So here's the deal. I want to apologize to our mushroom overlords for all the brothers that I have inhaled or put in my coffee. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is not awesome, this thing. So clean yourself, wash yourself. There's no, clean, if you have any if you clean regularly, then you got a pretty good shot. If you're healthy, you have a pretty good shot. But wash your hands. Probably a good idea. Just wash your hands no matter what you do. After everything you do, even peeing in your own house by yourself, might as well just wash your hands just in case. It would not hurt to do that. Let's get out of here with a little sports shit. Let's talk about some balling. John Moran has returned to the Memphis Grizzlies. He is back with them. He has spoken about some of the struggles that he's been dealing with. I think he's saying the right stuff. I mean, it sounds like a guy. I mean, he's 23 years old, y'all. Like he's
yeah. I feel like there was some legitimate contrition. Like if he wasn't legitimately and here's the thing, I don't even know if contrition is the right word, because it's not like he violated anybody else by doing what he did, but he understands that a person in his position can't just be fucking around
right.
the way he was. And I think he did have some contrition towards the game and towards his peers and towards what he means as an icon to people who may be young fans and shit like that to him. So I do think that was there. And I'm happy. Although I did think there was one small thing that was a little bit interesting about, I saw him in an interview and they asked him about posting on social media. And he said in a very sharp tone that he's never going to do that again. And he's 23. Like, I mean, I don't give a fuck about holding him to never gonna do it again. But the way that he said that, it was the most serious tone he had during the entire part of all the questions that he was being asked or whatever. His demeanor changed again. It's almost as if he blamed social media for the issue and not his behavior on social media.
Possibly, and I think part of that is like there is an element of like some of that stuff isn't as bad. The being willingness, like I think part of the lesson we learned is how much you share is important, not necessarily what it is that you are doing, and that is why like there's not a bigger issue being taken with what happened, because like it's not necessarily that it's bad that he went to a strip club, it's that it felt like publicizing what he did publicize there is a thing that maybe he might want to take better control over. And so if the lesson is like, yeah, I mean, not having the fucking gun, also not using his phone to post it, there's a way you can be on social media and not necessarily overshare what you got going on there. And I think if that's a lesson that he got out of it, then great, because it's not so much that like, again, the actual part of going out and enjoying yourself is not the part that he shouldn't be allowed to do. It's being aware of what he's representing and when he's representing it, right? And I think that part, if he's getting that out of that, then great, because he should still have the freedom to be a 23-year-old. I think there's a certain amount of being naive that comes to 23 where you don't think it has the impact it does, even if you think about the impact that you might have. where sometimes you need a reminder, and that's okay too.
Mm. I don't know. I just feel like every time we see young black men, we always gotta like it just feels like if you look a certain way and you got a gun, you the bad guy. And I'm not saying that's the case here, but I just think that contributes to that whole feeling. And that every time you see a black person with a gun, they're too aggressive, or every time you see a black person with a gun, it's a bad thing. And I'm just sick of that because it's not viewed the same when it's the other way around.
Yeah, I really think in this case it was the scenario he was in. I think if he was at a shooting range or some shit like that or hunting, this isn't a story.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If he was at a shooting range, somebody may take that the wrong way, but I would definitely fight for what you're talking about, Rob. I would definitely be like, "Yo, what the fuck?" You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, but
like,
if he's at shooting range, he's not getting suspended 8 games.
No,
what I'm saying to you, it is an accumulative effect. Like it's like every time you saw at one point in the 90s, every time you saw the news, it was somebody shooting someone over drugs, right? That gives them that image as if there's no other thing going on in the neighborhood. Like there's no, and I'm not talking about the individual case. I'm just saying the image of seeing that and them disciplining them and having to, whether they did or didn't, I'm not none of that. I'm just saying, the imagery is the problem for me.
I would like it to happen less often. Also, hopefully John Morant doesn't put any more guns on social media, and then that's one less opportunity for that to happen. In the World Baseball Classic, which has somehow become a major thing, nobody really knew about it, and all of a sudden this year it's a really big deal. But Japan beat the United States in the finals last night. The U.S., which has made some amazing comebacks throughout the tournament. Trey Turner has hit some big home runs to get them into the finals. But the real thing that happened last night that was major is Shohei Ohtani, who's played for the Angels since he's been in the major league, struck out Mike Trout, his teammate on the Angels, to finish the game, which was kind of like a storybook ending. If there's anything that looked like it was, written out beforehand, it was somehow managing for that to be something that happened in the ninth to end the game.
I didn't watch a single game of the WBC, but I listened to a lot of talk radio, a lot of just sports news about it.
Yeah.
And from the very beginning, the thing that everybody wanted to see was Shohei Ohtani pitch to Mike Trout. It was literally the thing that everybody was hoping to see, to have literally the game on the line and those two face each other. It was, I think, a one-run game. I think the final score was 4-3.
It was 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth, or top
3-2,
of the ninth.
yeah, 3-2. So best on best, and to have that happen for their countries, I think it was super dope. And like I said, I didn't watch any of the games, but I followed enough of the story to be like, wow, okay. I'm mad that I didn't watch the games now, actually, a little bit.
It was really interesting to see the players who, you look at like some of the off-season stuff for the non-NBA stuff for basketball, or even like the non-season NBA stuff. And the players tend to be a lot more standoffish towards it, or like, if I got it, I would, but I don't really want to do that. And the players were a lot more like this, two guys got hurt, two major big time players in the league got hurt. Edwin Diaz is going to miss the season after he tore his patellar tendon. They were celebrating a win. They won the game and he was jumping around and hurt his knee. And basically Puerto Rico was like, yeah, man, we celebrate. Fuck it. We happy. This is important. And then Jose Altuve broke his hand, and he's a big time second baseman for the Astros, the World Series champs. And he broke his hand, and he's going to miss some significant time. But to a player, these guys are all like, this is worth it, though, which is different than what you hear if somebody got hurt playing for like Team USA. I
think the big difference is baseball has a long preseason where they're playing full-on games by the end of it anyway. And so somebody getting hurt this time of year is really, really normal. Because it just happens in preseason games. It's just a thing that, like, if it didn't happen in the World Baseball Classic, it could have happened in Florida or Arizona before the season started. So I think that's a little bit of, there's guys that get hurt in football and NBA preseason, but it's not usually as common because they barely play in either.
I
They
think
play
the I
mostly
think the
kids.
real thing is, even though this has only been around since like 2006, I think the level of international stardom that exists in baseball now has created this thing where this chance to kind of it's obviously nowhere near the history of like where the World Cup is or some of these other big soccer championships, but I think for baseball and the way that the international players have become part of the actual major leagues, I think the ability to do this thing like for your to go back and play for your country and like do this like national pride thing, it's kind of a big deal for some of these guys. Like there's a little thing that they get to kind of get that honor of that kind of hits home a little bit bigger for them than like maybe in another manner. And that's cool. I think it's neat
Dude,
that there's a
you know
thing to
what? I
embrace
think
like
would be
that.
great. I think a Champions League for baseball would be dope. Like I would
Yeah.
love to see. I would love to see Japan and Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic and us and other countries, other teams with countries that are decent, other countries with teams that are decent. I would love to see us play every year in a short tournament. You know what I'm
The
saying?
NBA is definitely working towards something like that with their basketball Africa league. That the
Well,
BAL is
no,
yeah, Rob.
go ahead. What were you
No, I
saying?
was saying the BAL is starting to take off. Like they have a bunch of games that are on TV this year, and those are like top teams from different countries that have their own leagues going on in Africa
What is
already. So
BL?
like
What is the B? What do the letters stand for? What does it stand
the Basketball Africa League.
for? Oh,
So it's an African league that's run by the NBA that
of course.
takes I think 12. I mean, well, that's how you get the money in there, right? You want
Yeah,
money, guess who's got money? The NBA. Guess
yeah,
what? Some of those guys are going to go from that Basketball Africa League we playing in the NBA making real money,
absolutely,
and they being
absolutely.
part of the fraternity of basketball players in a league that actually hires people into the front office and shit. So like this is how you bring money to Africa through American dollars, right? So they got this league that they run, but it consists of like I think 12 different countries, so it takes like their top teams. So there's also leagues going on in those countries, but those countries now want to qualify to get to play in this, in this extra league that's going on. So it creates more reason for that to all work, which I think is good if you like the NBA.
This just
I feel bad for Steve Trout because now I never eat Chinese food again. Like fuck that. I don't want seafood in Japan. I don't want none of this.
No sushi for you. Fuck sushi. Fuck.
No, I don't want no rice.
But when it comes to rice, I said I don't want any goddamn rice. Bobby, that's this kind of goes along with both of your feelings on the situation. Remember I told you to tell you about the player. It was a team in a tournament. I can't remember, one of the college teams. One of the players was from Africa, and literally it was like a team in I feel like Utah. I feel like they were missionaries or whatever. And anyway, they literally, the story goes, hey, my brother's never played basketball before, but watch him dunk. And apparently like this 15-year-old kid just went and dunked the ball like 2 or 3 times. And they immediately like moved heaven and earth to bring that kid back to America to teach him to play basketball. And he was playing in a tournament. And they told that story as though it was like the greatest, like, look what this amazing thing we did. We found this African that could jump and play basketball. And we were so proud of ourselves. And I was like, you motherfuckers don't even hear how they almost made it sound like they found a puppy. Like look at this puppy we found that can do all these great tricks. It's literally what they sounded like when they were describing it. It was so I was like screaming at the TV. I was like, hey, like the tone you guys have on this, like I'm not saying you didn't do a good thing. I'm just saying the tone you're carrying on it, not the right energy, not the energy you think it is. It's not the energy that you think it is.
We liberated this poor nigga.
Right.
They didn't do shit else for the village. They just snatched this nigga that had a chance to make millions. They didn't do shit else for nobody else. They just snatched that one motherfucker.
No water for the town, no nothing. Just get this one Negro out of here because he's 6'9".
They stepping on one of them motherfuckers with the flies and shit.
Yeah.
Right
oh
over.
My God, please don't touch me. Don't touch me. 6'9" guy, come here.
You hungry? Oh my God.
Shit.
Yes, capitalism at its best, baby.
And on that note, XL, what do you got going on, man? Where you gotta be this week? Anything crazy happening? Anything well?
This coming up. But like I said, by the time people see this episode, I will be at Mustangs on April 4th, and I got something coming up at the Vault in Batavia. I'll talk about it on the next episode more. And that's good. Check me out at XL Comedy Show on IG, or Xavier Lamont on your Facebook.
Rob, what about you, my brother?
You can follow me on social media at Robert_L_Hines on YouTube, and the same on every other social media, with the exception of Twitter, which is Robert L. Hines 1.
Hell yeah. I'm actually doing Mustangs on the 29th of this month, so you can catch me there. Also in Beloit. And then, of course, you can find any of my information at Mocha_Jesus on Twitter and Instagram. Find the pod at New OGs Pod on Twitter and Instagram. It's been great hanging out with you this week. Catch
fuck
us
the
back
Castro
here.
brothers.
Fuck the Castro brothers. And it's been great hanging out with you. Catch us back here next week for another Omni episode. That's it. That's what's up. Be out of here. Peace.
Bitches wanna fuck with nigga, you can't blame us. Whole lot of niggas changed since we came up. They can try to steal the moves, but they ain't us. Think you gang, but nigga, you a stranger. Bitches wanna fuck with nigga, you can't blame us. You can't. Bitch, you better play your role. I feel like Nelly when he dropped that country grammar, fuck the